waiting for the exit now. It's time to go.
It's been fun though, guys. Thank you so much.
Out. We need the room. Oh, whatever. Fine. We'll give you one more time-killing morsel.
I saw him and he looks familiar, but he doesn't look familiar.
I think he's just some guy's gonna come here the whole time before
He's the
Saturday.
church cook, dude. Is he doing the church cook?
He's the warm-up act for Saturday Night Special.
That's what he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for America's sweetheart, Misha.
I like the idea that everything could be up for vote. We're going to do 4 more years. 4 more years of what? We will figure it out. We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. We'll figure it out
Just
later.
acknowledge we're doing it for 4 more years.
4 more years.
It is.
We were recently on the set of Supernatural talking about, well, you know, episode 300 would be getting a little halfway through season 14. That'd be cool. But then again, if we finished episode 15, that put us at episode 333, which is a pretty cool number.
Yeah.
And then Jetson said, what would it take to get to 666? That's a lot more than 4.
Okay, now we're having a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now the Supernatural conventions will be hosted by the Benedict Spade children.
I remember when my great-great-grandfather, Richard Spade, took this stage.
Back then you needed microphones.
They still have what they called a live band.
That would be funny because by then, Robot Borja will be
Robot Borja. Yeah. Good times.
For whatever confluence of reasons, it seems that everybody in the green room today is really in top form.
Balls of fire.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody must have had a few too many of those 5-hour energies because
Too many of something.
everyone was just bouncing off the blankets in there.
We just can't be stopped.
Yeah.
Thank you for live videoing that.
You're welcome.
It's good.
By the way, the preamble to that, like, I'm going to go live thing in the green room was, no, don't. And then we agreed,
No, we didn't.
well, I just did it.
You agreed on nothing, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we can all agree on this. That's Misha Collins. That we can agree on.
It's nice to finally have consensus with those assholes. How is everyone?
Everybody all right?
How many of you are U.S. citizens? Percentage. How many of you are watching with some sort of perverse glee the American election cycle? Canadians are so mean-spirited. Yeah. We're proud of ourselves. For some reason, I've started to get into a habit of telling stories about my kids at the beginning of the panels, so forgive me.
Do it.
But this just reminded me of Mason, my just turned 4-year-old. I remember when I was a kid, people used to always ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I would say I want to be a train engineer or a writer or whatever I wanted to be when I grew up that day. But it always felt like a really great question, and an important one. And I noticed that no one's asking that anymore. Like nobody's asking my kids what they want to be when they grow up. So I decided I would bite the bullet and ask them. And Mason said, when I grow up, I want to vote for Trump.
Uh-oh.
So I'm not going to talk to her anymore. He's great. I mean, at least he has sort of a progressive gender perspective. Which reminds me of another story. My spouse was on the phone disputing the charges on our cell phone bill because they were charging us for things that didn't happen. And she was on with an AT&T rep who was in India. And she said, it's over $300 extra in charges, and I cannot afford this. And he said, well, madam, why don't you just ask your husband for the $300? I'm sure that if you ask nicely, he'll give it to you.
Oh, dear.
No joke.
Damn.
Which I don't know where that falls in the AT&T training. First, when a customer complains about not having enough money, just tell them to ask their husband for more. Anyway, so she asked me and I said no. Alright, that's enough of that. Hi.
Hi. Oh my god, holy shit.
What's that?
So I'm a huge fan of Gishwas.
Oh yes, me too.
So my question is, if you could create a Gishwas themed chocolate bar, any ideas as to what would be in it besides kale, of course?
No. Kale would not be in it. This kale is now a forbidden fruit in the Gishwas lexicon. I think that there would have to be some sort of confetti in it. I love the idea of it being kind of a lottery. Like it could be something, you open up each, it's sort of like the Willy Wonka's, golden ticket thing, right? Like you open up each chocolate bar and either, it's oh shit, this is, I'm so glad you brought this up. Oh my God. All right, I'm gonna tweet something just to show you guys. Do you guys have Twitter? Yeah. I'll tweet you something that's available. So either it's something amazing when you open it up, like an actual chocolate bar, or it's something completely inedible that will burn your mouth. And you don't know what it's going to be until you put it in your mouth. So it's sort of like chocolate roulette. That's what I would do. Okay, so speaking of that, I can't believe you brought up chocolate bars. Hold on. This is going to be totally boring for a little while. This is the only way I know to share this with all of you, so you just have to be patient. Talk amongst yourselves.
They're whistling the Jeopardy song.
Oh, hold on, it's in a text thread. Let me get in front of it. Oh, come on, where is it? There it is. Okay. Stand by. Did you guys get something? No. Ay. Next, that's Misha. Okay. Okay, hold on. Really? This feels really inefficient to me. All right, well, I don't know. Maybe I can do this while talking about something else. You know what? I should have agreed to give my wife that $300. The chickens are coming home to roost. Well played, sir. Well played. All right, here we go. All right, no, I don't want to take a photo. I just want to see it. Can you do more than one photo with a tweet?
Yeah.
Four of them.
Yeah, but how? I don't want to join the Wi-Fi network. I can't. This is killing me, you guys. I'm sorry. How do you do it?
Select the photo.
Yeah, here, take my phone and show me. So, yeah, I just want those two. Yep. Oh, yep. Nice.
There you go.
Thank you. You guys are really getting your money's worth. Right? Did you get it? Yes. So this came in from my stepmother yesterday. Apparently she and my dad were walking down the street and happened to glance in a perfectly open dumpster and discovered that somebody had thrown away what appeared to be perfectly good, possibly Gishwa's chocolates. And so that's what they pulled out of the dumpster, and I assume they're eating them. And they sent there's a couple of photos of him in the dumpster, and then I responded with a lengthy period of silence on the text thread, like, really? And then they responded with a photo of a pile of chocolates, which was followed by another silence from me. And then they said, those were the ones that didn't touch the bottom of the dumpster. Like, don't worry, it's not that gross. They didn't. Who amongst us would have done the same if they saw a bunch of chocolate in the dumpster?
No.
When I was a kid, we used to go shopping. We didn't have we had zero money. And so my mom would often go shopping at a place called Mix and Match in Greenfield. This is where you got really bargain basement, really cheap food. Because it was the food that grocery stores couldn't sell. And at that time, they could legally resell it. Mix and Match is out of business now because it was no longer legal to do what they did. Because it was dented cans, like canned food that had been dented and presumably was infested with botulism, or out-of-date things like expires, best if used by, etc. I would always have like little snacks at school, and they would say on them, best if used by a time before you were born. Like, they were so far out of date, it was unbelievable. And this kind of harkens back to my earlier theme. Every time you opened it, it was like, is there going to be something living inside? Will it be crawling with mealworms? Which made it fun. It was like kind of an ecological pinata every time. But I digress, as usual. I'm sorry for that tangent. It will never happen again. Hi.
I don't know if this question's going to sound weird, and it's kind of personal. For me, not necessarily for you, but if you were ever in
near or far future and offered to be part of another fandom, would you consider it?
Wait. If I were in the near or
far,
distant
depending on how
future,
things go.
asked to be a part of another fandom,
As well as the one you're already.
as well as the supernatural fandom.
Yeah.
You mean, so in this scenario, this purely hypothetical scenario, would I be sort of like cheating on the supernatural fandom? Like, am I stepping out and not telling the supernatural fandom that I've seen another fandom? All right, I have more questions. Is it just like a one-night thing? Has the other fandom recently been tested?
My girlfriend and I are working on a book, and we like to put faces on the characters. And there's one that we just can't see anybody but you in it, and she wants it to become a movie one day. So that's why I was asking if you would ever consider being part of another fandom, as well as Supernatural.
Okay, so it's basically like fandom swinging. Sure, totally, I'd be into that. Thanks for asking that.
Hi, Misha.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. While you're in Toronto, will you be doing any sightseeing or any fun little trips outside being here for the convention?
Well, I took my meet and greet group on a trip down to the waterfront. We were doing a historic tour of previous Toronto convention outings. So we went to the spot where Ty Olsson jumped in the water and lost his phone and wallet. And observed that. That's probably about all I'm going to be able to muster on this trip because I have a very short trip.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
How does it feel always wearing a trench coat?
That's a great question. The trench coat can be a blessing or it can be a curse. And that is determined mostly by the temperature of the room that we're in. So in the summer when we're shooting, and Sam and Dean get to wear t-shirts, and I'm sweating balls. I hate the trench coat. But in the winter, when Sam and Dean are wearing t-shirts and I get to wear the trench coat, I feel really good about it. Yeah. One of the big jobs on set when we're shooting is the makeup department's job of wiping sweat off our faces. And they always try to be delicate about it. Like they'll say, the cameraman might say, Misha's looking a little shiny. They'll use euphemistic terms. What they mean is he looks like a sweaty pig. And that is often the result of having that trench coat on and the suit on underneath that. So, yeah. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, how are you? So if Supernatural had a body switching episode, which character would you want to play and who would you want to play Castiel?
I would probably choose the Impala. And I would love to have Rowena play Castiel.
Okay.
Should I hold this? Hi. So my question is about actually the portrayal of Lucifer. In season 5, when we met Lucifer, he was very somber and serious, both Mark's portrayal of him and Jared's. And then when he came back as Lucifer, this sort of construct of Sam's mind, he was the very snarky sort of character, very sarcastic. And then in season 11, when you and Mark played it, but obviously mostly you, because you were here most of the season, you were very much more like Lucifer than the original Lucifer, and I just wondered, was that like a conscious choice?
Very much what?
You were a lot more like Lucifer than the original, very serious Lucifer. Was that just like a conscious choice to do that?
Well, I think in Supernatural, generally speaking, as performers, we are of the school that the more wild the inconsistency, the better for the audience.
Yeah.
So I feel like I personally nailed that. No, You know what? I actually made the choice just to look at the more recent permutations of Lucifer because I felt like that was what was going to be freshest in the audience's mind. Like, it doesn't really make sense to leapfrog back to an earlier version because everybody would be lost. And because I never watched the first 7 seasons of the show, so probably so much homework for me. I'm just kidding. I just skipped the first 2.
Hi Misha, how are you?
Good, how are you?
First of all, I want to thank you for everything you do. You have like one of the most beautiful souls that I've ever.
Wait, you can see my soul? Thank you, that's very sweet.
Okay, so my question is, what is the best advice Jensen and or Jared have given you about acting on Supernatural and about life in general?
Oh dear.
Mark, why are you back there? That's like asking, what is the best quality of Satan? Oh, I actually have a legitimate answer to your question. I was shooting a scene with Jensen in season 5, I believe. I was eating burgers, and there was a scene where I was eating a burger and I was taking bites and chewing and swallowing, and he said, "Well, what are you, new? Don't swallow that. Spit it out." And so I guess the advice that I got that
Oh dear.
stuck with me the most is spit, don't swallow.
Okay, so that's coming a mile away.
I have a question about your angel, you play an angel, and I have a question about beliefs. And I was just wondering, when you have a child, when you were back at that age, and Santa Claus and Easter Bunny, and what did you believe in when you were,
When I was small?
When you were small.
Like, are we talking like 17, 18?
No, like 4.
4, okay.
And how did you deal with maybe found out that maybe...
This is a good question. I have a lot of exposure to 4 or 5-year-olds in my daily life right now because I have a just turned 4-year-old and a just turned 6-year-old. And I can tell you that you lose perspective very quickly as you grow older. You forget what it's like to be small. We were getting ready for school. They just drag their feet so much. It's like you can't just stay focused, stay on task. You get out of the house and go to school. It's got to be switching socks, turning the sock inside out and then right side in again, and then turn it inside out again. I'm like, just let's go to school, guys. Guys, can we please just stop lollygagging and get our wardrobe on and get out the door? I don't want to be tardy like we were yesterday because we got a very, very unhappy glare from Mrs. Lindsay yesterday. And Mason says, "Dad?" "Yes, Mason, what? What does yesterday mean?" Right, okay, we're not totally operating on the same wavelength right now. Or I came home, and Wes was just finishing up bashing a big hole in the drywall with a homemade hammer. He had tied a rock to a stick and had managed to bang a good-sized hole in the drywall. There was a pile of debris all over the floor. I was angry, and I expressed that to him. I said, "Wes, what are you doing? You can't just pound a hole in the wall. This is our home." And he said, Dad, I'm sorry. What were you doing, Wes? I was just trying to see the elves that you said lived in the wall. Oh yeah, did you see them? Are they there? Sometimes they go away in the fall, you know. So I have a vivid memory of it dawning on me, the whole Santa Claus thing. I don't want to, but I believed everything at an early age. I also had a weird thing, which is when I was guilty of a wrongdoing, which was very rare in my childhood, but when that happened, I would explain that the elves, it's a recurring theme, I guess, that the elves had done it, but when I explained that, I believed it. And I remember being like, no, the elves did it, and believing that. So I, at a very early age, not only believed the mythology that came from the outside, but kind of like Donald Trump, I created my own mythology. That I also believe. Yeah, thanks. Hi.
Hi, Misha. Nice to see you today.
Nice to see you as well.
Forgive my voice from yesterday's party.
Sounds like it was a rockin' party. Based on the look of my peers in the green room,
like
it looks like, yeah.
But now I sound like this. So, yeah.
I usually sound like this.
So, actually, this is not a question. This is kind of like, because I have a lot of my friends that they fail to take that step when they are facing something that they're doing for the first time, because they either worry too much or they're afraid because they don't know. And I just want to know if you have ever had the first time moment, and would you mind share with us? Because
like being afraid of taking the first step of doing something.
Yes.
Like jumping off a cliff or something.
I will be afraid every single time.
Of jumping off a cliff?
Yes.
Yes, I have an example of that, I think. I think that the first time you endeavor to do anything, it is almost always somewhat scary. I'm not sure why we appear to be hardwired to have an innate resistance to new things, but I think we do. There are a few people out there who I have met who don't seem to possess that quality, and I envy it, but I have it big time. I was very anxious about coming up on stage at my first convention. I was like, what am I going to, there are 1,000 people in the audience. They're going to be looking at me. They're going to be expecting me to talk, and I have nothing to say. And, after doing it for now 8 years, I realized that nobody cares if you say anything anyway. So, fine. You can sit up here and try to figure out how to use Twitter if people will watch. But I have a memory of when I was 18, my girlfriend and I, wife now, but girlfriend at the time, decided we were going to start a sleepaway summer camp for urban teenage girls. And so we were bringing girls from Chicago and DC and Cincinnati and Boston and Baltimore, New York, all these different cities to this sort of rural retreat in Western Massachusetts. And we had all of these workshops. I do things lined up for them to do. And a lot of it was a mix, but it was mostly, kids who didn't have any money, so we had to raise a lot of money to do this. We didn't give ourselves much time to do it. And so we had to raise a lot of money really quickly. And we had no idea how to do this, so we decided we'll just go start knocking on doors. And we drove to a rich neighborhood and parked the car and got out, and we had printed up these little brochures. We didn't have like nonprofit status or anything. And we just split up and we were going to go knocking on doors. And she went that way and knocked on a door, and I went around the corner and hid behind a tree. And my heart was just pounding. Like, I was so afraid of knocking on the first door. Because I think that we just don't want the rejection that we're feeling. And eventually I mustered the courage, knocked on the door. I was so nervous that they gave me $10 because they felt bad for me and they wanted me to leave. And then eventually I got comfortable with it, and we managed to raise like $50,000 in 2 weeks, which was amazing for a couple of 18-year-old kids who had no idea what they were doing. But that was such an example of overcoming a major fear. Like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, that's going to be a breeze. It was terrifying. So I don't have any advice except for that I have found that when you push through the fear, it can be an interesting experience, and you can overcome it. You can also do it and find out, oh, that really is a scary thing that I don't want to do anymore. I've had lots of those experiences too. But it is, I think, facing things that make you fearful can be a good growth edge. Like, that's where you kind of learn things, it seems like. So I think always recoiling from places of fear is probably, it's safe, but it's a little boring.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay.
And this is the first time I speak in front of this many people, and I'm very proud of myself.
Congratulations. Hi.
Based on supernatural, where Castiel has good intentions, but doesn't always have the best consequences, and Crowley, who doesn't have good intentions, but often actually causes...
Crowley's such a douche, isn't he? No, not that Crowley, another Crowley. I'm not talking about your Crowley, Mark. Okay.
And your experiences with random acts and of course Ishwis, has that changed your opinions on what good and evil really are?
You mean, have my experiences in the real world or my experiences with Mark Shepard?
Both.
I don't know, that's a good question. I do tend to think that
Bye, Misha.
Occasionally in life you meet somebody who is truly evil. portraying as actors when we portray characters who are mostly bad.
Somebody's making puppet shadows on his picture on the big screen. Possibly Mark. It's not interesting if it's painted in broad brushstrokes as truly evil. Like, I think a good example of that is Mark Pellegrino's portrayal of Lucifer. Like, he created a textured character that you kind of empathize with. I mean, yes, he's the epitome of evil and all that, but you kind of empathize with him. And he doesn't see himself as bad or wrong. He's doing... So, but I actually think that in life that's true as well. That nobody thinks of themselves as bad, wrong, or evil. There's always a justification. There are, of course, when I say nobody, there are, of course, glaring examples, exceptions to that. There are certainly people out there who are essentially dark shadows cast upon the world. So yeah, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. I think that they are trying to do their best. That said, there are people who, when they try to do their best, don't do very well. So, you know. Right, Mark? Hi.
Hi. How are you? Good. I just want to start off with my friend Hannah isn't able to make it today, so if you could say hi to her, that would be great.
Hi, Hannah. You're not here, but...
So I was just wondering, whose idea was it to plaster Mark's trailer with pictures of cats?
I assume it was Mark's. I mean, that Mark's trailer's been like that for a long time. I think that he has, over time, updated the photos as they wear out.
Wear out, oh dear.
Photos tend to get, I think, worn out just from excessive caressing. But yeah, no, that's Mark's work.
Mark's idea?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. First, I really want to thank you for being here, because I just think you're such an inspiring figure as much as an actor, as a person. Sorry, French. And my question is, well, I'm sorry, it's kind of sad. What's the last thing you want to do as Castiel? If you want, you can act it out. Like.
She asked what the last thing you'd like to do as Castiel is.
How am I going to answer this question? But now I know. I can have the option of acting it out.
Trench coat if you want.
No, I'm good. I think it would be nice for Cass just to do, like just quickly, very, if he would save the world, that would be a nice sort of swan song for him. Do you have ideas for Cass's final curtain?
I do dare to think about that.
Well, you asked the question, so clearly you're thinking about it more than most.
Well, I was thinking about Destiel.
Right? So last minutes on Earth, and you're like, nah, don't save the world. Just go in for the kiss with thee. Duly noted. Yeah, I think that will go in the hopper. I think
and then be burned. Let's hope.
Be right up there. Right, Mark? Sure. Yeah.
Hi, Misha. Nice to meet you.
I've been wanting to ask this for 2 years, 2 Toronto conventions. You mentioned, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
If you read any liberation theology. And if you did, what you've read and if that has any influence on any of the social peace and justice work you do out in the community.
What are some examples of liberation theology texts?
Gustavo Gutierrez, Theology of Liberation, Cry of the Earth, Cry of the Poor, Leonardo Boff. So these are some Catholic writers, and what basically it is that the thesis is God has a preferable option for the poor. So a lot of this theological work in its manifestation in the world is to go out and outreach to those who are disenfranchised, whether it be through ecology, social justice issues, economics.
I have not read a lot of liberation theology works. I have had some exposure to liberation theology. I have a good friend whose dad was actually a very prominent Paulist priest. I know that sounds weird to have a dad who's a priest, but his mom was a nun, so it worked out. And there are some. My father spent some time with Jesuit priests in the 70s, and that sort of informed his perspective on Latin American politics, which has in turn informed mine. There's a guy who's I would say, kind of an American version of liberation theology, running an outfit called Homeboy Industries in South Central Los Angeles. And they're an incredible organization. There's a book, Tattoos on the Heart, which I read recently, which is about his experience running that organization. And actually, Random Acts is doing a big fundraiser to support them. But he was assigned, his parish that he was assigned was in this really gang-riddled South Central Los Angeles neighborhood. And all of his peers were like, coming out of seminary, were like, oh man, you are screwed. You just drew the short straw. That sucks. And he went and he turned the parish, the church, into a homeless shelter at night. So he would allow homeless to come sleep between the pews at night, and then in the morning they'd sweep it out, and people would come and for service. And some of the parishioners were complaining, like, it smells in here, and what are you doing letting these homeless people in our church? And he basically gave that rendition of God's vision of our purpose on the planet. And that really resonates with me when I see that kind of Christian activism. I am inspired by it. And I, in a lot of respects, not all, but in a lot of respects, I think that the current Pope is doing a good job in that respect. There are areas that need significant improvement, I think, in his overarching philosophy. But yeah, this has been a very polemic discourse. Thank you. Hi.
This is so weird. I never thought I'd get to ask a question. That's so weird. But first I want to say that you're my sister's favorite character.
Your sister is awesome. I've always said that about her, but...
Yeah. You're not my favorite character.
Wish I had the balls to actually throw something. What's your favorite character?
Dean.
That's a stupid question.
You're my second favorite character.
Whatever.
But,
okay, can we get through the question? Okay, your time's up. All right.
Okay, okay, I have a question that I was going to ask Jared and Johnson, but...
You know what? Why don't you ask Jared and Johnson your question? Where's your sister? Is she in the audience right now?
I told her she could come.
She couldn't come?
I told her she couldn't come.
See? This is what teen girls are like. Mean-spirited.
We already bought 2 tickets, though.
Wait, so is she here or not? Just the mom. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry that I was saying all the bad things about your other daughter. This is the other daughter. Is she the younger one or the older one? She's the middle. You're not sure, huh?
Oh, dear.
She seems like a middle child, and my sister is younger than me, and then I have an older brother, so. But,
Quick question for the mom. Which of the daughters is your favorite? You love them both the same? You can tell me the truth. I won't tell you. It can't possibly be true.
don't worry, Misha, you're my favorite actor.
Oh, okay. All right. You're digging your way out.
No, but my question was, who do you think would win in a fight, Demon Dean or Soul of Sam?
I don't know. They were both pretty wussy. I kind of imagine that would be a fight of like, just really ineffective fighting. I think there was something. I think Demon Dean actually was more possessed of. He seemed to possess more supernatural kind of powers than Soulless
Who would win a fight,
Sam.
Demon Dean or Soulless Sam?
Soulless Sam did have really ripped six-pack abs.
Yeah, he did.
It could have been a tie. One has more supernatural powers. The other one was more cut. So I don't know. Cass would kick both of their asses as your sister can attack.
Hi. So you've been a big inspiration to a lot of people, myself included, especially from your random acts, which I follow religiously on Facebook. What was your most proud moment with random acts? Because it's been such a positive influence, and unlike the media, it's always portraying something good, which I miss in the media. There's like nothing pleasant in it usually nowadays, especially in America right now. But what's your happiest moment that random acts has done, or that you've done with random acts?
There are a few things that are coming to mind, but I think the most prominent, the most emotional experience for me probably was when we went back to Haiti for the third time. So, Random Act's sort of core mission is to help facilitate people doing small acts of charity at whatever capacity they have the means to do. And a lot of times those are very small acts, like it can be as, giving a musical instrument to a child in need or something like that. And while those stories can be emotionally impactful, I kind of also, when we were starting Random Acts, I wanted to also show that there was like some power behind it, like that we could do something monumental and really big. And so we embarked on this project of building an orphanage in Haiti in the post-earthquake era. And we set out to do that, and I didn't really know kind of what the scope of the project was going to be. It was a very abstract concept. I mean, we had some people on the ground there who were really great that we could partner with, but I didn't know what it was going to take. We ended up building this really enormous, 13,000 square foot building that was really beautifully constructed, and has, the facilities to accommodate a couple hundred kids, and cost about $500,000 that we raised. It took 3 years, but it was just like, it was a really amazing thing, because we were there when we were breaking ground in a vacant lot, and we were there when we saw the first kids. So there was a kid, the very first kid that was admitted into the orphanage was this kid who was 2.5 years old, who his mother had died, and his father had to work in a sugarcane field, and would leave during the day to go work, and would leave this 2.5-year-old kid with a bowl of water chained to a table, because he didn't know anything about parenting, and he didn't have the resources to do anything else. He wasn't like a cruel person. He just didn't know what to do with this kid. And so Random Acts helped, bring this kid in, and he was the first one there. And we met him when we went back for that third time and saw this beautiful building that was
constructed, and I don't think, there was a bunch of people who had gone on each trip down there, and I think we were all crying at that point. It was pretty amazing to see. It's kind of awesome to be able to be in a position where you can say, wow, like we actually changed that life completely, probably in that particular situation, saved the life, you know? And that is totally born of this fandom. You know, I started Random Acts with Supernatural fans, and I did it because I saw that there was a tremendous openness and a tremendous generosity in this community, and it is, I think, borne really remarkable fruits. So, yeah, that was, I think, that stands out to me.
Thank you so much.
And just briefly, I was telling, in my meet and greet, I was talking about this, but we had a Haitian-born engineer who had built the subway systems in New York. He was an engineer working on the subway system in New York, and he did the engineering for our orphanage when we built it, and he completely over-engineered the thing. And I was looking at the plans like, dude, do we have to, like, what? Like, these pillars are 2.5 times thicker than they need to be. And he said, I don't ever want to worry that an earthquake or a storm could possibly cause this building to collapse on children. And so he built it to specifications that would allow it to weather a 9.0 earthquake with a fully loaded semi-tractor trailer parked on the roof, which is, by the way, not possible to get onto the roof of the building. And so people have been asking, like, how is it doing during the hurricane? And the answer is it's served as a shelter for the community. It's
Yay!
So my friend Sarah couldn't be here, so I was wondering if you could say hi for her.
Yes. What? What's her name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Where is she?
Ottawa.
I cannot speak that loud. Hi, Sarah.
So my question is, how long does it take you to, like, which one is longer for you to get dressed as Castiel or drag queen outfit?
Or to do what?
Drag queen?
Castiel or drag queen outfit?
Drag queen? Typically, I think, honestly, like, in terms of if I have just things lined up in the closet, I could get into the drag queen costume faster. The problem is, it's always, there's so many decisions that go into dressing up as a drag queen, so that you have to factor into the transaction. Castiel, there is no decision making. So while there are a lot of accessory components, belts, ties, but thank you. That's a good, very good question. Hi, 5. Thank you.
Hi. So in season 2, there was an episode called What Is and What Should Never Be. In this episode, we see what Sam and Dean's lives would be if Mary had never died and they had never become hunters. How do you think Angels and Castiel in particular would fit into this world?
So they would never have become hunters. So they would be people, basically, who know nothing about this whole monster mythology that permeates the supernatural universe. They would just be a couple of schlubs.
Yeah.
In this particular scenario, I think that Sam and Dean would have sort of grown out of shape. And they would be drinking a lot of beer. They would be fairly forlorn. They would be imagining, what their life could have been had they chosen to make something of themselves. And they would occasionally, even in their drunken stupor, see a vision, a sort of hallucination of a strapping angel passing by the window of their home, their mobile home. And that would be Cass. So he would just be sort of an apparition that they wouldn't actually get to know in that particular scenario.
Do you think the apocalypse still would have happened, or would it have happened like hundreds of years later?
Really good question. Well, I don't know. I don't know isn't a fair... I'm going to opt for that as an answer more often. I don't know. Actually, I really don't know what would have happened with the 200-year apocalypse, but I have a feeling it would have sucked. It would have been like a Trump victory. Hi. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you? I'm a big traveler. What's your favorite travel destination?
What is my favorite travel destination?
Toronto.
There's a right answer for that, isn't it? It's Toronto. I don't know. I have a favorite hike, I think. I do. I have a favorite hike, which is Kearsarge Pass in Onion Valley near Bishop, California. That's pretty awesome. I haven't been, I don't really go to a lot of places twice, so I don't have like a place that I go back to, a haunt. I love the coast of Maine. I had a pretty amazing trip in Nepal and Tibet. It was pretty amazing. And by amazing, I mean really covered in diarrhea. Yeah, it was awesome. I'll just tell you a brief travel story, since you asked. So, this was 1995, and my girlfriend at the time, wife now, and I were traveling around the world. And we had bought these around-the-world plane tickets, and one of the stops was Nepal. And we decided that we wanted to go from Nepal into Tibet. But at the time, you couldn't really get a visa if you're an American to go into Tibet, because chances were that you were some sort of anti-Chinese Tibetan activist if you were trying to do that. But we heard through the grapevine that if you got a visa for Shanghai, sometimes you could just use that at the border and it would work. So we got a visa when we were back in the States for Shanghai. And then we went to Nepal, and we were in the town before the town that crossed the border, and we were pretty nervous. And I'm like, all right, are we going to just go up there? And we give them the visa, and I was like, there's got to be a better way where we can guarantee that we'll get across the border. And so we found this guy who was crossing the border, and he had a truck, and it was a vegetable truck. And so we persuaded him to let us bury ourselves under the vegetables in the back of his truck.
Oh, Lord.
When he crossed the border. That way, no problem, no harm, no foul. And my phone is ringing.
Who was it?
It's my friend Dan. I can talk to him. So we got to the border, and they stopped the truck, and apparently the driver looked suspicious, so the border guards had their rifles, and they were poking into the vegetables, and they poked us, and I literally did this. As if we had just fallen asleep, but buried completely hidden. And then they asked us to produce our papers, and when we had a visa, they actually let us into the country. And for our lying, we were punished by God. And both came down with like really terrible diarrhea right away. And as soon as we crossed into this border town was really, it had the worst civil infrastructure that I've ever seen. It was sewer running down the streets. The streets were all just mud and sewer mixed together. It was really, really unsanitary circumstances. And there was only one hotel, and it was, there were rats running all over the room. It was just a shithole. Literally a shithole. And we were not feeling well to the extreme. And there was an outhouse, but the outhouse was across this muddy, shit-infested street. And we were really sick and like feverish, and we were like trudging across this street through this human sludge.
into this outhouse, and the outhouse was just a hole in the ground, and the sewer just ran from this little hole back out into the street. And I'm painting a fairly dire picture, but it gets worse. So, the Tibetans were very small compared to me, and this outhouse didn't have toilet paper, but the custom at the time was just to wipe with your hand and rub it on the wall of the outhouse.
Oh, jeez.
Because of the breadth of my shoulders, I could not fit in the outhouse without touching both sides.
Stop.
Anyway, the story gets worse, but I'm going to leave it there. Anyway, that is we generally around Christmas time, me and the family try to go back there. Hi. I think you might be in the coveted last question spot. Yeah.
My question is if you could kind of pop into the supernatural universe just for like a few seconds and like say something to any character, what would you say and who would you say it to?
I would probably check in with the Chuck character. Now. And I would say, hey man. I would say, hey Chuck. Me and my friend Crowley, we have a problem. We're kind of at wit's end with all of this, like fighting all of the errant angels and demons and all of the monsters that plague the earth, the wars, the pestilence. Would you mind just fixing everything for us real quick?
I wish I could, but I got a thing. My hands are tied.
Rob, you don't need to squat.
It's pretty real low.
Yeah.
Can I?
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to make that joke. I almost did, but I'm not going to.
I was honestly trying to answer the question, and then that's when you took me down here. So I think I would like to, but sometimes you need a little bit of. To be honest, I didn't hear the question.
God is always deflecting in the supernatural universe. That's what we have to deal with from the guy upstairs. Now you know how we feel. Yeah.
He doesn't need one of those.
Take that last question. You got one more question over there, Misha.
Okay. You were the penultimate question. Hi.
Okay, so terrified I wasn't going to actually get to ask this. So Misha, in Supernatural, you're, oh my god, described by, especially Meg, as a unicorn. So my question is, if you were a unicorn for a day...
So uncomfortable right now.
He's touching me! We feel the same way every time he touches us.
Wait, she often refers to me as a unicorn, and?
And I have a question. So if you were a unicorn for a day, with all of the unicorn abilities that we all know the magical unicorns have,
yeah.
What is the first thing that you would do with your rainbow power?
I would fart a rainbow.
See you tonight, Mark Shepard.
How was that? Was it great? Was it everything you could it would be? Same. You're right there, Robo. All right, we'll be back later. There's autographs, there's photographs, and then there's Saturday Night Special tonight.